Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome as you start coming on in. I'm Nick Paro, founder here at Banner and Backbone, joined by my friend Tara Devlin of Tarabuster and the Political Voices Network. Tara, it's good to see you. We've had a couple weeks off. We are back for the Anti-Fascist Book Club, everyone.
Yes.
Tara, how are you today?
I'm all right.
People start coming on in if you're catching us live.
I'm just having some technical difficulties with my stream on YouTube. Now there's 3 streams going.
All the streams. Tara's got all the streams going. So
I don't know why.
All the streams, all the people, right? That's how we do it. More streams, more people.
It's the most bizarre thing. Yeah, anyway, I'm trying to figure it out. But I see Jim in the chat. Thank you, Jim. I will figure out what the hell is going on, and we'll try to close down the other stream. It's just too many streams on one YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, and we've got our friends coming in on the Substack side. Hey, Naida. Hey, Coffee is Life. I like the name. Mark, it's good to see you. Jason, all the friends. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Anti-Fascist Book Club. All of us are fighting fascism here. The Anti-Fascist Book Club, before we get into any of it, we're starting our new book today. But we want to do, like we always do, is explain what the book club is and what the book club isn't, especially as we get into our new book today, which is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, which, wow, we are going to have a lot to talk about from this book. There is so much to discuss out of this book, and I'm going to be, over the weeks, I think I'm going to be inviting some of our friends up to be able to talk about it, to get different perspectives, to get different understandings, because the more unique perspectives we can add to this discussion, the better. And I'm looking forward to having it. So, Tara, how are you?
I'm good. I read the first 3 chapters of this book, and I'm glad that it's on the list, because I was saying the last time when we were discussing the next book that this is probably not a book I would have picked myself, but then as I was reading it, I thought that it's because I wouldn't have picked it. It's something I really need to read, and yeah.
So. Yeah, no, totally agree that if it's something that you might not have picked, it's something that you should probably read. I got the book and my wife was like, we already had a copy of that. I was like, well, now we have 2.
There you go.
So somebody may get a gifted copy eventually when I'm done with mine with all the highlights. And somebody will get their own copy of How to Be an Anti-Racist. Maybe I'll drop it in one of the free library
there you go.
stops so that other people can read it, because they might never hear about it unless we drop it off.
Right.
Put it in their existence. So, Hey, y'all, welcome to the Anti-Fascist.
What is that?
My wife is in the background celebrating. She just got her job.
She got a job? Oh, congratulations. Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Good news.
Hold on. Pause.
Yes.
I'm going to pause for a second. Tara, since you've been here for a while, can you explain what the Anti-Fascist Book Club is and isn't real quick? I know you've heard us explain it a lot.
Yeah.
But in your views, and I'll be right back because my wife is celebrating and I got to give her a hug.
Oh, yes. I mean, this is life in the real liberal media. So let's see. The Anti-Fascist Book Club, it was created by Christopher Goldsmith. And but it's I don't know what it is, what it isn't. It's a community building antidote to fascism, and that's actually one of the primary ways that we fight back in fascism, is that we build communities. And this is a way of getting together with like-minded people around a purpose and discussing things that will, but like I was saying, books that maybe we wouldn't have read. That's one good thing about, like, I remember, going to college and that's why not that people who don't go to college don't, have the same intellectual curiosity or not, but when you're forced to expose yourself to things that you wouldn't have necessarily. It does open your mind, and like in college, you're assigned books that you wouldn't have read. So if you had your choice, and then you just don't know what you don't know until you know
Yeah.
it. Really.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know until
Hmm.
you've learned about it.
Right.
And even just in the first part of this book. So today like we said, we're going to be starting How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. Also, Tara, thanks for introducing what
Yeah, I
book
don't know
club
if I
is
did
and
a good
isn't.
job,
You did.
but
I
yeah.
heard you. You
Oh.
did a good job.
Mm.
And for those who want to start their own in-person book clubs, which is what we specifically talk about too, is bring this into your community. Over my head, over the flag here is QR code to the Veterans Fighting Fascism Anti-Fascist Book Club guide so that you can start your own. And that you can try and start your own. It doesn't have to be at a library. It can be in a coffee shop. It can be wherever you're comfortable. There are many groups that have started around the country. Some are small, some are larger. The more groups you can start, the better. The more you can discuss this with people, with your friends, with your family. Take the lessons that we learn from these books and bring them home, because especially this one. And our friend Naida Green in the chat, who is the founder and CEO of Disability Community for Democracy, which I am the framing director for. So I'm going to plug them here for a second too, is talking about something really important. And it's something that is often missed when we talk about being anti-racist. And we're going to be very deliberate, because Ibram is very deliberate
Yes.
in his wording too, of it's not that I'm not racist. It is that we
Yeah.
are anti-racist.
Right.
And what Naida says is you can't be anti-racist with being anti-ableist, because disability and racism are linked.
Yes.
So you have to be both. You have to be anti-inequality. You have to be anti-ableism. You have to be anti-racism. You have to be anti-racist. You have to be anti-ableist. They are different terms and they have different meanings. And the first chapter in this book talks a lot about definitions of racism, racist, and their differences. And they may be subtle, but they are really important. And so, Tara, let's get into our book today.
Yes,
Let's get into this discussion. So we're going to be focusing on the preface or the introduction and the first couple chapters. We're going to go slow through this book this week, and slow through this whole book, I think, because there is a lot in it and a lot we can really learn. And a lot we can internalize. And I'm actually going to reach out to Ibram, who is here on Substack, and see if he would be interested and willing to come up for a discussion about the book too.
That would
so
be incredible.
I'm going to reach out to him. Ibram, if you are listening to this, or if anybody knows Ibram, please reach out for us too. We'd love to have him on. I would love to have him on for a discussion, especially about his own book. Like having the author of their own book talk about their book is pretty awesome. And so let's get into this a little bit. Let's start with the introduction here. So Tara, do you want to jump in on, were there any parts in the intro that you stood out to you?
Well, I wasn't prepared to talk about the intro.
Really, did you skip the intro? It's okay if you did.
I did read it, but I didn't really absorb it. But it is really about his background and what made him.
Yeah, so it gives a little bit of his background from when he was in high school and he was in an oratory speech competition.
Right.
And he looks back at that time and goes, wow, that speech was filled with racist terminology.
And he went to school, and his school was named after a Confederate traitor,
Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was a Martin Luther King speech being presented at a Stonewall Jackson high school.
Right. And the irony of that.
The irony that he pointed out there. And one of the things he points out in this is, I'll read it, is what I was talking about, is in my applause-stoked flights of oratory, I didn't realize that to say something is wrong about a racial group is to say something is inferior about that racial group. I did not realize that to say something is inferior about a racial group is to say a racist idea. I thought I was serving my people, when in fact I was serving up racist ideas about my people to my people. The black judge seemed to be eating it up and clapping me on my back for more. I kept giving more. And then he notes that he looks back and still has nightmares, the memory of this speech, whenever I muster the courage to recall it anew. It is hard for me to believe I finished high school in the year 2000 touting so many racist ideas. And then he goes into it, and this is where I want to get your feedback on here, Tara, is he actually has a note. And so if you have the paperback copy of this book, it's on page 9 in My Racist Introduction. And it's the note on racism and racist. And so he, in the paperback book version that I have, at least, there are corrections and updates where he changed words.
Yes.
And he modified his word choices because he identified there were places where he was using racist terminology or ableist terminology or discriminatory terminology, and he corrected himself. Right. And that takes a lot of cojones to do. It takes a lot to correct your own work, but it also, and he admits where he was wrong in word usage and why he was wrong. And I think the important part is the why and what made it better. And he does a really great job of that. So there's this note on racism and racist. He says, here I corrected one of my biggest errors in the hardcover edition. My use at times of the terms racism and racist interchangeably. Many people use racism and racist interchangeably, but we must stop. I am trying to stop because they mean different things. Racism connotes power, policies, and ideas. Racist connotes a power, a policy, or an idea. Racism connotes what is structural, systemic, institutional, connected, or plural, a powerful collection of unjust or unequitable policies justified by ideas of racial hierarchy. Racist connotes what is individual or singular, such as a single racist policy or idea, or a single person who is being racist. I changed internalized racism to internalized racist ideas because an individual cannot have or internalize racism. A group of people can engage in racism while an individual can be racist. I think there's a lot in there. So Tara, I'd love to get your thoughts.
Well, I just want to talk about too his changing, his evolving, and the evolution of definitions, which struck me as well. That we're all evolving here. You know, we are swimming in this racist ass pool. You know, and the terminology is just so endemic in our society, and once you start recognizing that, is you, even though you're trying, you're trying to be someone who isn't inherent, and a racist person, it's like, and I get it too, to a degree, being gay, that you always have to you're always confronting your own homophobia, your own internalized homophobia, always, like when you meet new people, and there's always that moment of coming out. You always have to come out and confront that. Are they going to reject me? Are they going to, what are they going to think about me? Or, and so there's always that risk too. But it's a little different because some people who have darker pigment are, they wear their, they wear it on the outside, so there's no hiding at all, but it's that words matter, and they denote how a power structure and a hierarchy that and then what I found interesting too is that he was saying that he initially, when he was younger, he wanted to be white, that he was and I understand that too, you know, you just don't want to be something that is targeted, and you know, and I could see how that is so damaging too to a young person. But yeah, I mean,
Well, and our models of like what we model, I guess, goodness off of in the US
hmm
more often than not, is based on white
right.
viewpoints.
That's it. Yep, yep, and it's
And
yeah, yeah,
it's
whole
really
history.
damaging.
Yes, to all everybody too.
Everybody, yeah, to everybody.
That
It's not damaging just to individual groups, to Black people or Latinos or what we would call the global South. Like
yes,
that in
right.
itself is racism. Like those
hmm
are racist ideas. A racist idea is that that we have a global South,
right,
because that's a Confederate idea, and the Confederacy was based on racism as a group.
right.
There were racists in the Confederacy, a lot of them.
hmm
If not all plantation owners were racists.
mm,
The system that they propagated was racism.
hmm
And what you said was really good in there, um, about yourself and about like your own confronting your own biases and your own
yeah,
either internalized dialogue. Like, think about it for men who are breaking down the patriarchy. Like, we are confronting patriarchal systems on a
hmm
daily basis, and those of us who are breaking it down are also breaking down racism,
mm,
because the
yes,
patriarchy is a racist system. And what Ibram says on page 9 of the paperback copy is, the good news is that racist and anti-racist are not fixed
mm,
identities.
yeah,
We can be racist one minute and an anti-racist the next.
mm,
What we say about race, what we do about race in each moment determines what, not who, we are.
hmm
And I think, like you said, words matter. Words mean things. And if we use the correct words at the correct times, they mean really important things.
right, right,
And so the good news is you can change. You may be racist at times, knowingly or unknowingly, but it is on you to then look into
yeah,
yourself and go, oh shit, that was racist of me,
right,
and then
right,
change it and then address it. It's the impacting your own personal racist ideologies or ideas,
yeah,
whether they're yours or they're from the racism as a whole. You have to own that yourself.
mm,
And so the good news is it's a process. You can
yes,
grow.
that's
Now
it,
you know, so you can grow. So start growing. So start internalizing this. And I
right,
love, like, this introduction gives me a lot of really positive hope, and a lot to think on. And if and I'll let you take over here for the next chapter here in a second. Is I want to give one last segment of the introduction, which is on page 12 and 12, where it's both the beginning of this of it paragraph and then his note on being fully human. So
mm, right,
this book is ultimately about the basic struggle we're all in, the struggle to be fully human and to see that others are fully human. And then he has a note on being fully human, which is, I think we are beginning to understand how being racist prevents us
mm,
from seeing certain people as fully human.
that's what it is, yeah,
That goes for ableist too. When you look at somebody with a disability and you pity them or you put them on a pedestal, that is ableism.
mm,
Those are ableist ideas, is to raise people up in really unequitable ways. That is ableism and ableist ideas. It's the same as racist and racism. Like
Yes.
they cross over. Naida Green at the beginning made an incredibly poignant statement of you cannot truly be anti-racist unless you are also anti-ableist.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's not that you are not ableist, it is you are anti ableist. You are anti racist. But anyway, going back to what I was reading here. So I was saying, I think we are beginning to understand how being racist prevents us from seeing certain people as fully human, but I don't think we understand how being racist prevents us from being fully human. What do I mean by fully human? I'm not talking in a biological or behavioral sense. We are all fully human in a biological and behavioral sense. I'm speaking on a social and political sense. To be fully human socially is for us to recognize a fundamental connection between ourself and every other human being on earth.
Mm.
To be fully human politically is to think about human rights. What about all humans need to live fulfilling lives? And what powerful forces constrain humans, in this case, the form of racism? To be fully human is to use our power to join with other humans to challenge the forces that prevent the full flowering of humanity,
Right.
which I think is beautiful.
And that is, and it's what's required if we're going to have a successful society that works for everybody. And some people just don't want that, unfortunately, it seems. And because, I mean, I can't even tell you how many, just doing this, doing a podcast and all, getting comments from MAGA people, and they're always rooted. I'm not always. I would say maybe 95% rooted in racism. And Jim on the chat can validate that. It's not an exaggeration. It's always some racist trope or some bullshit that they're peddling, and it's really pathetic, frankly,
It
because
is.
yeah, right. It's like, and that's what he talks about too, being anti-racist. It's not a and this is what Trump does. I'm the least racist person or that
Yep.
ever lived. Right. This is you know
Which Ibram talks about in this first chapter
right,
too, is the
right,
use of that and how
exactly.
that
So
is a racist trope.
yes, and it's not. It's rejecting that bullshit. It's not about not seeing race. It's about understanding that no racial group is inherently better or worse or smarter or more moral or dangerous, or deserving. And that then we realize, and you start seeing like the systemic, or well, actually, that's a word too, because he did mention that systemic racism. It is the whole system. It's not systemic racism. Racism is woven within this system, and we need to confront it, of course. And you do that by first recognizing that it exists, and then recognizing it in yourself through
Hmm.
language, and then how that translates into policy. And it's all over the policy. Like, for example, he was talking about good schools and bad schools, and we talk about this on the show too, on Tarabuster, about that there should be no good schools or bad schools in America. The only reason there are is because of racism built into the system, because funding schools through property taxes is a deliberate racist policy that keeps some people, rich communities, have better resources. So if you fund schools through property taxes, schools should be funded through a general fund, and everybody has a good fucking school then, not poor communities that don't have the resources then get poor schools. And it's all about segregating people and separating them, and of course keeping people down, certain segments of society. And I remember too, though, there was a guy that used to watch my show. I haven't heard from him in a while. He used to like constantly message me, he, I'm sure. Well, he was. I'm struggling for a word, because he would always tell me, "Don't say African American," because that's a racist term, and I hate that, he was saying, because, and then I started saying, yeah, I mean, it really is. That's why I say people with darker pigment, because it's, that's really the distinction without a difference. But of course, you can't, it's like you just can't confront every. I guess you can confront it, but like, oh, the language is evolving, and
Yeah.
it used to be Negro was right, and then it's colored people, and then it was African American. So um, I don't know. I guess eventually, why should it be anything, right? Ultimately, it should be, because we're all human beings, and that's another thing. I don't know what chapter that's in, because I got a little further, but he was talking about how Bill Clinton made the announcement that they had mapped the genome, and and it was the most important map that was ever that humans ever created, and it proved that there are no races, because there used to be these, the racism of the past, of of Thomas Jefferson. There was a whole, who can write all men are created equal, while owning people, and but they
Well,
had
there's a quote in here too from Thomas Jefferson, um, on page 25. Sorry to cut you off here,
yeah.
but I think that's a really, really good. He's a really great example.
Hmm.
And Ibram writes, so what is a racist idea? A racist idea is any notion that suggests one racial group is inferior or superior to another racial group in any way. Racist ideas argue that the inferiorities and superiorities of racial groups explain racial inequalities in society.
Right.
This can also, before I get to the Thomas Jefferson quote, racist idea can be swapped out with ableist idea, can be swapped out with classist idea, can be swapped out with sexist idea, can be swapped out with LGBTQ, like discriminatory ideas towards LGBTQ plus
Hmm.
individuals, towards trans people. Like, though they're all interchangeable because it's the same hate underneath, it's the same inferiority
Right.
versus superiority. And so, as Thomas Jefferson suspected a decade after declaring white American independence, quote, the blacks, whether originally a distinct race or made distinct by time and circumstances, are inferior to the whites in the endowments both of body and mind.
Mm, 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 mm.
End quote.
And yeah, well,
Like,
there used to be a I guess they call it, what I think he wrote about it too, the polygenesis, or they used to think that there were two origin stories, not Adam and Eve.
yeah.
Adam and Eve, white people came from Adam and Eve, and there must have been another origin story for people with darker pigment, because clearly, and they were just looking for ways to subjugate and justify, enslaving people, and the racist hierarchy. And this is the thing about conservatism too, because conservatism, and this is, I mean, there's so many things going on in my head now, but trying to come out of my mouth. But because conservatism is a ideology of hierarchy, and that's why, I mean, racism and is built into that system, and that's why they'll trash the society itself if they don't get. They'll trash. I mean, we saw it on January 6th, that they can only take democracy to a point. And there's another I have to tell this story too. I'm thinking about, there's people know I work in television. That's my other day job, and a freelancer or whatever. And I worked on a show a long time ago called Little Women LA, right? And I just did promos for it. And I was working, and I was working with a guy, right? And this show featured women who, little women, little people, and they were, their lives in LA, and he was saying the M word, okay, and calling them I don't even want to say that word. It's like the N word, And I was like, I don't like that word. He said, I don't think they like that word. If they heard you saying that word, you'd probably be fired. So I stopped saying that word. And he's like, what do you mean? What am I supposed to call them? And I'm like, call them little people? Like that's what they want to be called? And he's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like he was the
Mad
victim
that he
in
was
the
corrected.
yeah, but because he was upset that like he had to change. And I'm like, what skin off your asses it to call people what they want to be called, and but he was angry about it, and it struck me because he was a white guy, and he doesn't have to go through that, that kind of degradation, that kind of dehumanization, and to be upset about it and I would never let him say that word without being corrected, because I don't think he was doing it maliciously. He just was ignorant, right? But he was upset that oh shit, now I got to say another word. And this, I see this in conservatives too. They get
Mm-hmm.
upset that, oh, what that's why they're all like pronouns, and I don't want to, oh, what do I got fucking pronouns, like, what the fuck? Just call people what they want to be called. But it's too much for them. They're the victims always. So anyway,
Yep. Yeah.
well,
And well, thinking about that, like there's a good quote in the book from on page 25 is around this thought of like victimhood is the most threatening racist movement is not the alt-right's unlikely drive for a white ethno-state, but the regular American's drive for a race-neutral one. The conduct of race neutrality actually feeds white nationalist victimhood by positing the notion that any policy protecting or advancing non-white Americans toward equity is reverse discrimination. And
mm-hmm.
this victimhood mentality
Yes.
that
Oh God,
there's
yes.
only so much space or so much freedom for
Right.
everybody else, and that it's this pie or cake, and that when one group gets slightly more equity or equality, everybody else's somehow diminishes, where it's not.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And like it is a balloon or a bubble that can ever expand. Like
Mm,
freedom and equity and equality are this ever growing sphere that provides place for everybody
yes.
and removes the racist policies
Yep.
and the racist ideologies, um, because like I'll read this quote passage too, because I could read like every passage out of this book. We could pretty much just dedicate this to live reading the book
Yeah.
half the time, because there's a lot in here. Is the racist policy is more tangible and exacting and more likely to be immediately understood by everyday people, including its victims who may not have the benefit of extensive fluency in racist terms. Racist policy says exactly what the problem is and where the problem is. Quote, institutional racism, end quote, and quote, structural racism, end quote, systematic racism, end quote, are redundant. Racism itself is institutional, structural, and systemic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this idea, like you were talking about it earlier, and I noticed you were trying not to say like systemic racism or institutional
Yeah.
racism. Like I
Yeah.
could see it in
Uh-huh.
the way you were
I was
talking about
trying
it.
to figure out, like, I was trying to find the right words. Yes.
And it's just this racist or ableist policy or classist policy or sexist policy or misogynistic policies or patriarchal policy, they're already built into the system
Yeah.
because they are themselves institutional, structural, and systemic. Like to be racism, it has to be institutional, structural,
Mm,
and or systemic.
right.
Whereas the racist is a person. or the
Yes.
ableist is a person, but ableism is an overarching term. And we talked about, like, you were talking about this, and like people come at it and they're mad and like they're upset that they have
Yeah.
to change words, but like it's
Right.
so easy to self-reflect just a little bit because you want to be called something.
Yeah,
You want to have your name right. You want,
that's right.
why shouldn't other people, why
Yeah,
shouldn't others have the same dignity
that's it.
that you do? It doesn't lower your level of freedom or your level of equality or your level
Right.
of rights to be anti-racist. It in fact improves them,
You would
because
think.
once equity and equality are built into the system and replace
Mm,
discriminatory practices and racist policy, everybody benefits. Because
mm,
when everybody is on an equitable playing field, there's actual opportunity for all. Because again,
mhm.
it is not this pie that the rich people keep telling us or the
Yes.
racists keep telling us that there is.
Mm,
It is
mm.
an expanding bubble. We
Yes.
can all fit
Right.
into anti-racism and anti-ableism and anti-classism and anti-sexism and anti-misogynisticism and
Yes.
anti-patriarchalism, whatever, what are all the isms? We can be anti all of them without running out of space. And like
That's
that's such a big lesson I've gotten just from this first chapter. It's like
mm-hmm. It's
we
true.
need to expand towards anti-racist policy. And right now, we are in a regressive period towards pro racist policies, towards
Oh yeah.
racist policy.
Yep.
And for the last decade, it has been very obvious that we have been going towards discriminatory and racist policies.
Yep.
It has been happening for a lot longer than that. But in the last decade, since Trumpism came into play, Trumpism is akin to racism.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It
So it
is
is.
the
It
same.
is. It's white
He is the
supremacy.
KKK platform.
Yeah. No, this is a white supremacist or maladministration.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. That's their project is white supremacy.
And what we're doing here, what the project of the Anti-Fascist Book Club is about, what the project of Banner and Backbone and Sick of the Shit Publications, and a lot that Tara does on Tarabuster, is we are breaking through that structural
Mm-hmm.
system and being anti-racist or
Mm-hmm.
anti-homophobic, which I also think homophobia is stupid
Yeah,
and a
it's
made up
ridiculous.
term, because you can't be afraid of gay people. Like there's nothing to be afraid
Oh,
of gay people. It's like
oh,
transphobia. It's the
yeah,
same
it's
thing. They're
ridiculous.
made up bigotry terms,
Well, it's
bigoted terms to hide your bigotry behind I'm afraid of somebody. No, you're
well,
not. You're just an asshole.
it's all connected though. It's all homophobia is misogyny, just like
Hmm.
transphobia is also misogyny, but it's also that it's trans people are very dangerous to the power structure, the conservative power structure, because they prove that gender is a construct, and it's not about. And so is race is a construct. It's a construct of hierarchy to keep people in their place, and homophobia. They don't make law. They didn't make laws traditionally against lesbians, but they made them against gay men because lesbians trying to be what they consider it being like a man is, of course you want to be like a man, but if a man is like a woman and
Yeah.
becomes like I mean, I don't want to get into graphic details, but you know what I'm saying. And that's why it was legislated against, and to death. People were put to death for being gay, and but it's all about maintaining the hierarchy that we're all entrapped in, and we're in a backlash period right now because we made some progress on that front, and yeah, and then to me it seems like it's a relief to be to treat people with dignity and respect. If somebody wants to be called something, and or if you open your mind and you make, or you open, you know, the seat at the table, you make room at the table. To me, that feels so much more human, and that we're making progress and we're building a more perfect union. That's what we want, and it seems more, and it just seems more peaceful and humane, and you know, and less stressful. And what we're dealing with, the maintaining this rigid order, is so against human existence. It's That's why they have to do it. They have to enforce it through violence and everything that we're seeing, you know. So they will not win eventually. That's why I always say we will win at the end of the show, because we will. We're on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. And they have to pretend that they are, and while they're beating people into their natural
Subservience.
place. Yes,
Yeah, because
exactly.
if it's like the idea of, if women were meant, and I'm going
Yeah,
to put that in
yeah,
quotations, so anyone who hears this just on audio, quotations,
yes,
meant to be homemakers and in
yeah,
the house and baby makers, why is it that we have to put such restrictive policies on women to force them to do
yeah,
that?
yeah.
If
You have
that's
to,
what they're, quote, meant to do
right,
and want to do all the time, why do we have to be so fucking forceful to make them do it?
right,
Because
right.
it's not. Because, yes, parenting and being a father or a mother or just a parent in general is a biological thing. Yes, there is a biological component to it. Both,
Right.
all of us are drawn towards wanting or not wanting to be parents. Like, that's okay. To like have the next generation of children. It's okay if you don't want. It's okay if you do want. It is also natural, if you look through history, women were hunters,
Mm-hmm.
men were gatherers.
Mm.
Yes, there were male hunters too, obviously, but the roles aren't what we define them as or what we pretend to see them as. And I think you built on the big part is we're going to win. Is at the end of the day,
Yeah,
we're going to win.
that's
We're
right.
going to win because we're doing the hard work, not because it's
Mm-hmm.
inevitable.
Mm.
The win
No,
is
you
not
have to work. No,
inevitable.
you're right.
We have to
Exactly.
work for it. We have
Right.
to work for the win. And why I think we're going to win, also on page 21 of the book, from, again, in the paperback copy, page 21, Ibram writes, justice is a structural sense. And he's talking about this in the sense of racial justice, and this can again also be applied towards justice in general and broader justice. Justice is a structural sense in when people experience nurturing and restorative love from policies and from their makers and defenders who are being held accountable by the people.
Mm.
Injustice, in a structural sense, is when people experience destructive harm from policymakers and policies and from people who are usually immune to accountability. If
Right.
that doesn't sound like the current US government right
Yeah.
now,
Oh God,
both
yes.
Congress,
Oh
or
yes.
sorry, all three branches of the federal
Mm-hmm.
government, the legislative, executive, and judicial, if it doesn't feel like we are experiencing injustice right now, then you are under the racist ideology and are experiencing you are experiencing racist policy and racism without accepting that it's happening, because
Mm-hmm.
it's everywhere. It's injustice right now. Like, the arc of history will bend towards justice and towards freedom and liberation and forward movement, because we're going to force it that way,
Yeah.
because we
We have
demand
to.
accountability.
Yeah.
And part of, like, the huge thing that we talk about, we've talked about it a lot, is accountability and transparency. And I talk about it a lot on my shows on masculinity. Is intelligent masculinity is the ability to not place your accountability onto others. It is the discipline to live with the consequences of your actions and values. And right now we have a system of injustice because our leaders, quote, leaders, our elected officials, our not leaders, our public servants feel that they are unaccountable.
And they are. Well, look at Mitch
and that they're
McConnell. He could
immune.
fucking disappear, and
He's dead. He's
yeah.
probably.
Yeah,
I mean, he
dead.
might not be dead, but he's structurally he's dead.
Yeah, but how dare he? Right? Even dead. I mean, what the fuck? Like, you work for us, bitch, and you get to disappear, and that just goes to show you what they think of the people they pretend to represent. They're not representing people. It's about power for themselves. Yes. So shame on people who vote for that. That's all.
But yeah, shame on people who do vote for that. Like, if your idea of voting is giving people immunity and unaccountability,
incredible,
then you are okay with racist ideology and racist policy.
People, Nick, these are the same people that are racist. That they would never accept that kind of behavior from somebody like, let's say, Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? You know that. And as long
imagine Barack Obama when he was in Congress, going on a 2-month disappearing for 2 months because of a health issue.
Oh, forget it. What about
he would have been run out of office?
Right. What about Vice President Harris? If she had gone on, how many vacations has fucking JD Vance been on now?
All of them.
Yeah, exactly. In the first couple of months, he was on like 2 vacations a month. He went to England, Disneyland, of course, like all over the world. And he's still at it, of course, making the Secret Service run his wife all places. And, I mean, they abuse their power because it's just basically who they are. They're not in there for altruism. They're not there to help people afford health care or make schools less racist or anti-racist. They're not in there for that. They are there to enforce the strict hierarchy because they benefit from it. And shame on people who vote for it. You're really hurting yourself. And but they only see the light when something affects them directly, unfortunately. And they think that, I guess, their white privilege will make them immune, but it really is about rich and poor, not about I mean, that's really the underlying rot in everything too. But the whole hierarchy is it is the problem. I think, I don't know, but
well, that, and I think it's important to also call out the neutrality.
Oh, yes.
The fake neutrality is really the heart of where we fail.
Yes.
Is neutrality on racism and neutrality on ableism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia. Neutrality on those is passive acceptance for them.
Yes.
For the ism.
That's right.
Passive acceptance because you are unwilling to do any of the work.
Well, right.
You're unwilling to think on why it is damaging.
Yep.
You are comfortable where you are, and you don't think that any of it affects you. And so you are either racist or you're anti-racist. You're either sexist or you're anti-sexist. And yes, you can be both, because like Ibram says in the book, is the good news is that it is not fixed identities. You can at times be both.
Yes.
Or all of the above. But again, it's on you to not be that passive portion, because as he writes back in the introduction, we'll go back just a little bit, back in the introduction, is the common idea of claiming quote, color blindness, end
Uh-huh.
quote,
Right.
is akin to the notion of being, quote, not racist, end quote. As with the not racist, the colorblind individual, by ostensibly failing to see how people are racialized, fails to see racism and falls into racist passivity.
Mm.
The
Yes.
language of colorblindness, like the language of not racist, is a mask to hide when someone is being racist. It
Wow.
is a mask. It is,
Mm.
you are passivity in inequality and injustice is tacit approval of the inequality and injustice.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
You cannot be passive on a binary issue. This is one of those, like racism, sexism, homophobia,
Mm.
all of these isms are binary issues. You either are or you are anti.
Right.
Like being neutral, again, is a tacit acceptance that it's okay, that you
Right.
think that these are okay policies.
Yeah.
I'll openly admit, when I was in college, I was brought into this idea of color blindness. Like that
Mm.
was a thing. That was a huge thing when I went to college the first time, where people were talking
Mm.
about color blindness.
Yes. That's yep.
And I grew up in a very white state. I grew up in Vermont. It was historically at the time that when I grew up, the whitest. Um, yes, ageism is bad too.
Mm.
And we didn't even get into the ideas of like positive discrimination and like positive age discrimination, which I think is a huge one that he talked about. And we're almost at our hour already.
Yeah.
Like we have
Wow.
barely even
I
scratched the
know.
surface of what we could be talking about in all of this. Um, is I'll openly admit that like when I was in college, which is over a decade ago now, well over a decade, is I bought into that idea because it was easy. I was young and dumb, and
Mhm.
I bought into the idea that color blindness is better than other paths because everybody's the same.
Right.
We'll just start on an equal playing field.
Yeah.
And then I really learned what equality actually was compared to equity. And that's when things really changed for me, was when I really learned what equity meant and what it meant to either be tacitly for or against the system. And I changed. I
Mm.
have become anti-racist, and I'm still working on my
Yes.
internalized biases. Like I have biases. I have to work through them. We all grew up in
Yeah.
learning biases and habits either through our parents, through schools, through our environments. We've all learned them through the system itself. Like we it's a learning process,
Yes.
and I don't beat myself up because of my past self. I admit that there are flaws that I did and that I still have flaws, and I'm still learning and I'm still growing, and I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to fix them and try to be better because now I know so I can grow.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that those who truly, at least in my view, those who truly accept the idea of the anti-isms of being anti-racist or anti-classist or
Mm.
anti-ableist, I think the people who really buy into those ideas don't guilt themselves into those ideas. They don't feel guilty because we were taught bad things.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught racism. We were taught ableism. We were taught sexism. We were taught unconscious and conscious biases that we have to break down. And when you start breaking those down, you have to be willing to give yourself empathy. You have
Yeah.
to be willing to grow from it so that you don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the thing that I hear most from people who don't want to accept these ideas is like, oh, but you're blaming me for
Yeah.
slavery. You're blaming me for what
Right.
my ancestors did. No, you're blaming yourself for that
Mhm.
and making it so that you think I'm blaming you.
Mm.
I'm not blaming you for your great great grandfather, let's say, being a slave owner. I will blame you if you continue to perpetrate those ideologies.
Right.
But if your great great grandfather, let's say, was a slaver and you are not in any way and you are anti racist, I'm not going to blame you for
Yeah.
what your great grandfather did. I'm not going to say that you are at fault. I'm not saying that white people as a whole are all racists
Mhm.
or are perform racism or all white people are slavers. No,
Mhm. Well,
no.
that's what the Republicans are. They're very
And
triggered by,
yeah,
and the whole
it's
color.
victimhood.
Yeah, that's what it's like. We were just saying about my friend who was like, "Oh, what the hell?" But it's this color blindness, like John Roberts, and but what the saying that racism is over and that therefore they can dismantle the Voting Rights Act, and
Mhm.
it is in
Or what
itself
Louisiana just did today. There is a ruling in Louisiana that ended anti-discriminatory policies in school.
unbelievable. See,
Yeah.
well, there you go, and it's like, and another thing that. Um, Ibram Kendi says that he quotes from Lyndon Johnson,
Yeah.
and he says this is the Johnson quote. He says, "You don't take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bring him up to the starting line of a race, and say you're free to compete with all the others, and then still justify that you've been completely fair." And so not recognizing the disadvantages that people who aren't white or male or rich have had in this country is in itself perpetuating that system. And so we first have to, of course, call it out. That's why the Republicans they're infuriating, because they really truly are rolling back progress. So that doesn't mean we can't restore that progress, but the fact that and it's a true backlash to the progress, but it is in itself proof that racism isn't over. We haven't even scratched the surface of remedying it, and we must
Mhm.
if we're gonna have a country that succeeds. And this is the problem too, because I want America, the multiracial liberal democracy, the liberal age of enlightenment, um, a constitution that promotes the general welfare, e pluribus unum. I want that to survive. I don't want to I don't want to live in an authoritarian, kiss up, kick down, monarchical type system that the founders rebelled against. And this is the necessary work of patriotism. It is patriotism. Oh, here's another thing. Actually, just remembered a comment I got. This is how confused conservatives are, because I said something about, oh, the racist ass country that America's a racist ass country. I don't remember the context, but it is what it is. And some right winger wrote, oh yeah, you say you love America, but there you are calling it a racist ass country. But that these two are not diametrically opposed. I call it a racist ass country because it is a fucking racist ass country, and we're doing something about it. We try to do something about it, and first we recognize the reality of the situation. We
Yeah, we
stick our heads.
recognize that structural problem.
Yes, exactly. We don't stick our heads in the sand and say America is perfect, because that's what Republicans do. That's why they love the symbols of America, because the substance is really beyond them, and the work that it takes to make a more perfect union. They have no interest in that work, which is, it starts with them. That's why they
Mhm.
get all triggered about, oh, I'm not a racist. Well, if you're not, then you would have no problem with funding schools through the general fund instead of property taxes, but they stand in the way. You would, and other things like everything else that they're doing to just dilute districts that are primarily black and dilute power. Take away, like basically, eliminate districts in that they, I mean, the fact that they, within hours of Roberts destroying the Voting Rights Act, they had their legislation already prepared to start screwing with who can vote, who can participate in the society, or have a say in their community. It's
Yeah,
absolutely conscionable. So
yeah. And as we hit the top of our hour, I think that's a really good stopping point. Is before we get to promoting ourselves and where people can find our work outside of the Anti-Fascist Book Club, is there two comments I wanted to just real quickly get to from our Substack side. Is again from our friend Naida Green. Is can we say access to resources, because you don't have to be wealthy to have access to resources, and I think that's a really good comment in terms of adjusting language. Is I want an equitable access to resources and equitable access to education and healthcare and human rights.
right.
And that, I think, the access rather than the wealth, because you don't need to be wealthy to have
Yeah,
basic access to resources. We should
right.
all have equitable
Oh yeah,
access to resources.
absolutely. Well,
And
that's
then,
partly why. Well, we don't have universal health care in this country
yes,
because of
because
racism.
of racism.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
The fact that we don't have universal healthcare and universal education and universal housing rights
Yep.
and universal pre-K and what all
Yep.
of the universal good things that we could have with a socialized democracy is because there's a systemic institutional problem in our nation called racism. And it
Mm-hmm.
holds all of us back.
Yep.
And Courtney, one of our friends, Courtney in the chat also says, is the and going back to giving yourself grace and when you're unlearning things, and the concept of now you know so you can grow is the
Yeah.
unfortunate side effect of giving yourself grace while trying to learn or unlearn. It's that some people see it as not being hard enough on yourself, at least in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree,
Mm-hmm.
is because giving yourself grace can sometimes on an outward side look like you are removing accountability, and you cannot be accountable for certain systems that you did not put into place. You can be accountable for how you respond to those systems and grow to change them or to alter or to dismantle. And when you accept the fact that you aren't responsible for, say, setting up a constitutional hierarchy which is based on white supremacy, I'm not responsible for that. I'm not a founding father. I wasn't there when the Constitution was written. So I'm not going to beat myself up over that shit. I'm not responsible for Thomas Jefferson, for Ben Franklin, for George Washington. I'm not responsible for any of them. I am responsible, though, for how I respond now. And I give myself the grace, unlike, say, the alt-right or those who are colorblind, who take that responsibility and say, it's my fault. It's all my fault. I'm going to beat myself up for this. It's your fault if you don't do anything to make it better,
Yeah.
to dismantle that system. You're at fault for that. You're not at fault for building the system, but you are at fault for maintaining it and saying that it's okay or that we're at the end of racism.
Yeah.
Because we're
Yeah.
not. We're still in racist policies because our
Absolutely.
structural institutional system is founded in racism.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to break that down so that we can be an anti racist nation, so that we can be an anti ableist nation, so that we can be an anti-sexist nation, that we can be an anti-misogynistic nation, and we can learn and do better. And we just need to we can internalize if anything that I say today for friends out here as we switch to our promoting ourselves as we get there, is if you internalize anything from today from me, is internalize the fact that we can do it, because it's our responsibility to be anti-racist without the guilt of what previous generations have done. That is not downplaying damage. That is not downplaying the systems. That is saying, don't be guilty for the system being in place when you were born. Take responsibility for your actions now while you're here to be anti-racist, to be pro-human, to be pro-dignity, to be pro-freedom and equity. We have the opportunity to internalize those and make them real. So let's do it. Let's take that opportunity. It's been put in front of us. It's on a golden platter. That golden platter starts with kicking Trump out of fucking office.
And
it's been put in front of us.
Yeah.
The system has exposed itself.
Yes.
And it's on us now to do the thing. Because being anti-racist, being anti all of that is an active set of things. It is not passive. Human rights aren't partisan. Human dignity isn't partisan. What they are is human. And it's on us to be actively pro-human. And so I hope everybody takes some good lessons from today and a good start from our book, which is Ibram Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist. If you don't have your copy, please get one. This book is really, really, really good. It is really worth all of the reading. And he has some other great books too. But please do get this book and read it, because make sure you get the new copy so it has all the new additions and corrections that he put in, because it's really important. And so, Tara, let's promote ourselves a little bit.
Yes.
Start here real quick with Banner and Backbone. Come support the network here. Come support Banner and Backbone, where we're putting on the Anti-Fascist Book Club. Tara, Chris Goldsmith, Stephanie Wilson, myself, and others have been doing this for 9 months, 10 months almost, maybe even longer now. We've been doing this nearly a year now. And we have gone through some incredible books, and we have had some incredible audiences and questions and discussions back and forth. And I thank you all for being a part of this. And so please become a part of Banner and Backbone. Support the growth, support the continued education and discussions that we're having, support the Anti-Fascist Book Club so we can have more of these, so we can bring on more guests, so we can talk to the authors. And again, if you are a subscriber to Ibram Kendi, I'm going to be reaching out to him. He's on Substack. I'm going to be reaching out to him though, because I would love to get him on for a discussion about his own book, and maybe even some of his other works, but specifically focusing on how to be an anti-racist, because I would his feedback on his own book would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be great. Wait, my cat's trying to come over.
Your cat's killing your stuff. So Tara, while your cat's coming in, promote yourself.
Yes, thank you guys. Yeah, Tarabuster, please subscribe to my Substack. Click that little linky right there. That would help. I am just keep the numbers going. It actually helps if you can subscribe financially. That helps, but if you can, just subscribing means a lot. And tonight, I will be having a show, 8:30 p.m. We have a guest, Chick Canfora, who is an educator, journalist, and a lifelong activist and eyewitness and survivor of the May 4th Kent State shootings. So her brother was injured in the shootings, and she was, a longtime activist, anti-war protester when she was there, when the National Guard opened up. in Ohio and killed 4 students protesting the Vietnam War. So that should be a great conversation. So please check it out. Subscribe. All right.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank
One
you.
question for you from our friend Jason in the chat here on Substack is what kind of guitar is it behind you?
Oh, it's what is it? It's an Ovation. It was a gift from a friend many years ago, and when I first got clean and got into recovery, that was my therapy. So
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I would play instead of go out and get in trouble. So
well, music's a great therapy,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Thanks
Oh
for
yeah.
answering
I
that.
mean, you're a classical musician, so
Yeah, I was trained in music. Yeah.
I'm just somebody that would look up songs on the internet and play.
Yeah,
So,
music therapy is an incredible thing, and does a lot of good. Just a plug for music therapy, and thanks for
yes.
asking, Jason.
Thank you. Yes.
And yeah, make sure to join and subscribe with Tara. Join her tonight. And then when you're done subscribing to Tara, come subscribe to me here on Sick of This Shit Publications. It's my main platform discussing chronic illness, advocacy, and disability rights and advocacy, as well as confronting the self-created crisis of masculinity, because we screwed ourselves, and patriarchy screwed us, and we live in a system that is intended to hurt people, and that includes men. The system that is intended
Right.
to hurt, because patriarchy hurts men just as much
Yes,
as
it does.
it does many other groups. And to get through it, we need to break that ceiling, and we need to be anti-patriarchy and anti-misogyny. And that's what we're doing at Sick of This Shit Publications, is pro-humaning and bettering ourselves. So please come join if you can at Sick of This Shit Publications, free or paid subscriber. Paid really helps. Free is also wonderful. The big thing at the end of the day is please like, share, restack, and send them the message out. Share the work that we're doing, share the resources, read the books yourself, and then go discuss them in person. Go bring this into your life, because being anti-racist, being anti-fascist, being anti-misogynist, being anti-patriarchy is a verb. It is an action. It is something you do consistently, and you have to learn, and you have to grow with. So go be active in your anti-racism and your anti-fascism, because otherwise you're tacitly approving of the fascism or the racism and the harm. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week for a continued discussion into How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. I'm Nick Paro, joined by Tara Devlin here on Banner and Backbone. This has been the Anti-Fascist Book Club. Everybody, go have a great weekend. Tara, your cat, both your cats, the one stretching in the background, go have a great day and a great show tonight. Everyone, thanks for being here with us. Hit the heart one last time before you go, and we'll see you all next week.